I'm officially going to begin this parent orientation. So let me start by saying, welcome to parent orientation. Welcome to the College of Staten Island. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. I want to start by welcoming and announcing who our presenters will be. So we have from the Center for Advising and Academic Success, welcome, Janice Sankar. Welcome, Janice.
Hello.
We have from the Office of Financial Aid, Amy Friedman. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming.
We have from Dolphin Cove Student Housing, Dana Gerasi. Welcome, Dana.
Hello, everyone.
I got that name right. I have also from Financial Aid, who will be in the chat box a little bit, Michael Adamo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming.
We have from the Office of Recruitment and Admissions, current Macaulay Honors College student, Emily Dribick. Hi, Emily.
Hi, guys. Hope you guys enjoy.
And Emily will be here helping me out with some links and stuff in the chat. And what you notice is all of us here not only work here, but are all proud graduates of the College of Staten Island. So we are proud alumni of this fine institution. There's me there. The cat's out of the bag, I guess, right? That's me. That picture was, we don't have anybody here from Betrides, but that was taken at what is now the Betrides School back in the fall of 1992 when I started at the College of Staten Island at our old Sunnyside campus. So again, we all love the College of Staten Island. We all had great experiences at the College of Staten Island. I met my wife Michelle at the College of Staten Island. Made some great friends while I was here. So it's a wonderful place. So I want to officially welcome all of you to the College of Staten Island, not only your students, but you as parents. It is an honor that we get to educate your children. Thank you for entrusting us with that honor. We all of us that you're going to meet here today who are talking in this Zoom, but everyone that you'll meet, whether it's during the advisement sessions, whether it's during new student orientation, we all exist to help your students succeed at the College of Staten Island. Next week, we're excited. It's commencement. Let's hope we have a nice day on Wednesday. But our goal, all of us, is to make sure that your students in 4 years walk across that great lawn and graduate with whatever degree they choose from the College of Staten Island. So again, welcome. We're all of you, not only your students, but we're all now officially Dolphins. Welcome to the College of Staten Island. And again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for entrusting us with the education of your students. So with that, the students will be on the largest continuous campus in New York City. It is a beautiful 204 acre park-like campus, beautiful place to go to school, to earn their degree. So it's a wonderful place, and I welcome all of you. And with that, I'm gonna dive right into some of the panel that we have here. We're gonna talk a little bit about our Dolphin Cove Student Housing. So again, I welcome leasing coordinator from Dolphin Cove Student Housing, Dana Gerasi. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
So I am the leasing coordinator over at Dolphin Cove. So if you have applied to housing, you've probably gotten information from me. If you have not, you will eventually once you do apply. But we do have campus housing. It's right on the north side, located on campus, which is a unique feature. Some schools have it off. We are located right on campus. So living on campus, a lot of students will ask me, why should I live on campus, especially because we are such a large commuter college. But our biggest thing is getting rid of that commute. So because of where we're located, your commute could be 2 to 4 hours, depending on how far you are. So living on campus gives you more success rate at advancing in your studies, and it's a great way to get your experience. So responsibility and accountability is probably the biggest things that students learn while they're here. We're not, knocking on their doors to go to class. They are responsible to get up and go. We do get their grades eventually. So we do have to, we do catch up with them and try to figure out if they're, if they're struggling, we kind of connect them who they need to connect to. There's a lot of sense of community here because we are a small facility of room for 436 students. So it's only 2% of CSI, but that also gives you a lot of access to networking and meeting new people, especially if in your specific majors, networking is a very big component of it. And there's a lot of support and post-college preparedness while you're here, because if you are struggling and you need help with something, we can kind of guide you to who to talk to. And obviously living on your own gives you post-college preparedness because you're going to be cleaning your own room, cooking for yourself, etc. It really prepares you for the real world outside of school. So commuting, like I said, we're kicking the commute here. Your commute time could be right down to our conference room, located in the South Building. On average, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to get to the other parts of campus from here. So you could not get closer if you tried, which means you should be going to class. So there's parking over here in the the sixth lot over here. So students can park on campus regardless of the year that they're in. Some freshmen, if they want to, they can. I know other schools will limit that, but we do not limit that. Majority of our students don't drive, but we do have spaces for them if they would like to. You can create study groups while on campus. We do have a lounge area on every floor in the South Building at least. The North is smaller, so it doesn't really have it, but you can create study groups that you are successing in your studies, succeeding in your studies, and then there's tutoring and academic support services on campus for free. So there's a lot of resources here. And we do have our own high-speed wireless internet that, in my opinion, is faster than CSI's. So, you're going to be using that all 4 or 5 years, depending how long you're here. So getting involved in general is very big in college. It kind of, that's where the networking comes in. But we do have our own events at Dolphin Cove. Our RAs are required to host 7 to 8 events a month. So there's always something going on. They're only for residential students, and they are themed. So it really depends on the month, and they can kind of choose what they want to go to, if not all 8. And there's a lot of campus organizations and clubs here at CSI, and there's always new ones being formed. So if you're not commuting back and forth, you can dedicate more time to the clubs. If you are in a specific major that needs research, you have more opportunities while you're not traveling back and forth. There's some on-campus employment in certain areas on campus as well, and then obviously work, study, and internships. So being on campus is probably the best place to be as much as possible to make your 4 years great. So our facilities, we are a separate entity of CSI. We're not within CSI. So we have on-site support staff. There's 4 maintenance staff members, 24/7 front desk staff. So there's always somebody there. If it's not our staff, it's overnight security. We have 5 housing staff members. I am one of them. We have a general manager, assistant general manager, a bookkeeper, and a resident director. And then we have 7 to 8 RAs or paraprofessional staff members. They do live on site, and 3 of our professional staff members also live on site. So there's always somebody here to make sure everything is run smoothly. And so applying for housing. A lot of students or parents don't know that applying for housing is a separate application from CSI's application. We have our own website, technically speaking. You can just go to csi.cu.edu/housing and click apply online. And then you would go through your resident portal and make the application and submit it. So while you're doing that, also make sure you're doing your FAFSA and TAP. Financially, it is a very big component to CSI in general, but especially if you're doing housing, because it could reduce your cost per semester. Once you apply online, there is an application fee of $400. It is non-refundable. That does not guarantee a space, nor does it go towards your balance of housing, but it is a secure deposit / damage deposit on the unit. So that is an important factor to note. But there is a thing called the cost calculator that kind of comes a little bit later in the process. But that is something that you can use to get an estimate of what your total cost could be out of pocket, so that you're not, you know ahead of time versus not knowing ahead of time, because it is quite expensive. So we want to make sure students understand that. So when you do apply to housing, eventually by me, you'll be sent a license agreement via our system, and that is required to be signed in order to secure your space. I'll get into that a little bit later in the slides. But additional items, make sure you're completing. You register for classes full-time at 12 credits. That is a requirement for all students that live on campus. You have to be registered full-time. Make sure you're doing the orientation, and make sure if you have any additional financial aid documents that they are submitted so that we don't have any issues. Because sometimes they can take weeks to process, which can delay everything. So unit types and cost. So we technically have 4 unit types, but 3 units in general. So the 3-2 bath and the 3-2 bath shared and private are the same. They're just different bedroom types within it. So as you can see, the shared is 2 twin beds, twin XLs. That's one is always going to be the least expensive one. Right now it's $7,500 per semester per resident. or 15,000 per year per resident. So the 3-2 private is the 2 private rooms within the 3-2. This one's kind of middle tier pricing, 8,560 per semester per resident, or 17,120 per year per resident.
Wait, no,
So the 4-2 is the only unit that is in the north building. This one is 4 private bedrooms. So it is the same price as the 3-2 private at 8,560 per semester per resident, or 17,120 per year per resident. And then we have the 2-bedroom, 1-bath. This one is split up between buildings. It is always going to be the most expensive unit we have. Right now it's 1,395 per resident, or 20,790 per year per resident. So the license agreement, I mentioned this before, but the license agreement is what students have to sign in order to secure their space to live on campus. However, it is a legal financial document, which means once it's signed, regardless if you attend CSI, transfer out, decide not to come in general, or maybe you're having like financial aid issues, you will still be financially responsible for housing. So keep that in mind. It's very important to read over and understand, because we have a lot of students that just sign it and then they don't realize what they're signing, and then it leads to issues and they can't register for class because their versatile is too high. So make sure you're reading it through, completing all fields. If you have any questions, just let us know, and we can walk you through it, but it is sent digitally via email. If your student is under 18, you would be signing on behalf of them as well as the guarantor. But if they are 18 and above when they apply, they would be signing, and then the guarantor would be signing after. So accommodation and room assignments. So Room Sync is an app we use for roommate matching. Students get access to it after they sign their agreement. It is not in the App Store. They have to get an invite list. So don't be going and trying to find it. So Room Sync is what we use to match students. It is open right now, and then it closes beginning of July. So it's really important to do housing sooner rather than later, so that you're not, racing to get a roommate match and stuff like that. Because I have a lot of students that will do housing late and then they don't get access to Room Sync. And at that point, once I do roommate matching in August, like the beginning of August, I kind of just place students where I have room and go from there, just because I do have to get them done quite quickly. So accommodation letter is what you would get to secure your space. Once you sign fully, right now we are aiming to start sending out accommodation letters beginning of June. To those who have signed fully. Your accommodation letter will say, congratulations, you secured your space. From there, you'll get an invoice from a bookkeeper with your out-of-pocket cost. And then the due date for us in general is July 1st for fall and December 1 for spring. CSI does have their own due date, but keep in mind our due date is only for housing, and we do honor it. So make sure you're making payment on time, because if you don't make payment, you will not be approved to move in late August. So the move-in is right before classes begin. We don't really advertise the dates because every single student usually will have a different date. But it's usually right when, like, 2 to 3, maybe 4 days before classes begin, so that they have ample amount of time. And then classes begin and it starts the semester. So making payment, this is a lot of information, but I'm kind of going to go through it briefly. So there are multiple ways you can make payment for housing. You can hand deliver a check or money order made payable to College of Staten Island to us, and we can take it to Bursar directly. You can mail a check or money order to our office as well. I just ask that you use a tracker, because we have students that didn't know where their check was, and we don't know where it is, so it kind of makes it a little bit more stressful. So you can just put on it College of Staten Island, and then we can take it to Bursar ourselves and deposit it for you. You can pay at the Bursar office with cash, or check or money order, but you have to tell them it's for housing specifically, just because if you don't say that, they will automatically apply it to tuition, and then your housing is not paid off. So make sure you're doing that. You all can also pay online on CUNY First. However, CUNY First is the same thing. You cannot choose where it's going. So if you make a payment, let's say your balance for the year is $10,000, and you make a payment of $2,000 that's supposed to go to housing, it'll automatically go to tuition. CUNY First does not differentiate. So it's really important to make sure that you're paying correctly so that you don't have any issues when it comes to move in. You can also pay with a no net payment plan. So this is with CSI. It's on Kidney First. Once you are fully signed and your charges are posted, you can enroll in the payment plan. Right now it is 6 payments and then it goes down to 5 after June 23rd, I believe. So that's why applying and signing to housing early is your best option so that you're not running into any issues and you have the max amount of payment plan options for you. But the payment plan must include everything not covered by financial aid. So any tuition not covered, any housing not covered, any meal plan not covered has to go in the payment plan. And then our bookkeeper will make sure it is correct once you forward the email to her once you enroll. So this is what the no net payment plan looks like. They call it a budget worksheet, but on one side you have tuition and fees, housing, and any balances if you are a transfer student. And then you have credits. So the credits would be your financial aid, scholarships, third-party contracts, loans, stuff like that. From there, Nelnet will do the math for you and basically take the first payment when you enroll. But it's really important that these amounts are correct because then you won't be technically approved to move in because your payment plan is not accurate. So we have social media and we're always posting on there. We have an Instagram and TikTok. It's the same for both Dolphin Cove CSI. If you have any questions, let us know. But yeah, I hope to see some of you guys in the fall.
Well, thank you very much, Dana. Thank you. Thank you. And Dana will be here if you have any questions. We'll definitely have a formal Q&A session at the end, but if you have questions, pop them in the box. And now it's my turn to sort of go over a little transition information with all the parents in here. I'm sort of tasked with the fun duty of talking about, you know, the transition, the changes ahead for all the parents in here. You know, obviously your role as a parent of a transitioning high school student is very important now. In fact, the transition that you're going through is almost as big as the transition that the students are going through. Colleges is obviously a radical change from high school. Supports and services that you and your child know now and at the high school will not be the same in college. You and your child will leave behind, you know, a myriad of different routines and supports that were structured to assure not only access but success while they were at high school. In college, they will have a lot more freedom. They will face a complicated a set of complicated academic and social environments without the benefit of constant reminders to, you know, complete assignments, to keep up with their reading, to go to bed at a reasonable time, to attend classes. They really are, you know, they're maturing into adults who now need to rely on self-sufficiency and self-determination skills. Hopefully those skills that they've been learning while they've been in high school, it's now time for them to depend on those. So parents, you're really going from more of an active role to more of a role of a mentor, the mentor role. So you as their chief advocate will transition to more of that mentor role as your child now takes the lead, right? They take the wheel of their own life. They will need to manage relationships with professors, much like they would manage their relationship with their supervisors. I mean, I have, you know, the greatest supervisor in the world, but not everybody does, right? Not everybody's going to love every professor that they have. All professors are different. So they'll need to manage those relationships like we all have to manage those relationships in life. Students will receive a syllabus, right, for each course that they take at the College of Staten Island. And those syllabi will list everything the student is responsible for in those classes. And remember, you know, there are some professors that are going to just assume that the students are managing and watching and keeping an eye on this syllabus, right? So that they will know when papers are due, when readings are due, when quizzes and tests are happening. And they might not necessarily remind them to say, hey, next week, you know, chapters 5 and 6 are due. Some may, some might not. They might just assume that the students are paying attention to their syllabus and keeping track. And also students are also very successful when they follow the instructions and also show a willingness and an interest in the subject matter. You know, I want you as the mentors now in their lives to encourage students to take advantage of office hours. Every faculty member must put aside some time that they are in their office to meet with students. And professors love when you meet with them, not only for students who meet with them when they're, you know, they're having some issues, if they're lost, but just to show an interest in the subject matter and to talk to them. Remember, the faculty member is an expert in that subject matter. They're interested in that subject matter. So if students go to chat with them, it's only going to help them perform better in their courses. And, you know, speaking of transition, and this is the difficult conversation I have to have with the parents here, and I have it all the time on the phone. But a student now chooses what they decide to share with you. Now, right now you're going, hey, wait a second. I'm paying the bill. They're living with me. I bought them a car. But because of FERPA, right? And we're all familiar with HIPAA, right? Everybody knows you can't just walk in and just get medical records and medical information about someone. Well, it's the same thing with educational records. Once they start classes in the fall, and this question comes up a lot, but my child is under 18. They're 17 until, December. It does not matter. Once classes start, they fall under FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. So they are now in charge of their own information. When in high school, a teacher or administrator can simply they call parents about grades, right? You as a parent can contact the teacher, say, how's my child doing? How's my student doing? That once the student enrolls at CSI or any college, we must follow FERPA. So their education information is for them only, unless we have written permission that the students are allowing us to share that information with you. And that's what we call a FERPA release form. I'm sure we're putting those links in. If not, Emily, if you could throw those in, I can't really see at this point, but I'm sure she is. So it's time for you now, before classes start, to have a conversation with your student. What are the expectations if they're living with you, if you're paying for their education, if you're responsible for a lot of the costs? What are they going to share with you? And that's the conversation you'd like to have now. And if they would like to give you access, grant you access to all their educational records, you will have to have that FERPA release form on file. And you would do that with the registrar's office. We're putting that form in. If you need, additional information, definitely reach out to the registrar's office and they could help you with that. But we would need that release form on file to share any kind of information with you. And again, I don't want this to sound like, I'm being very negative. In fact, it's quite the contrary. It's very positive. While the structure and supports are changing from high school to college, they're in some ways getting better. They're getting richer. CSI will provide a robust set of support systems that are in place to ensure that your student will be successful. There are tons of resources that we offer, and I'm going to name off a few, but they're going to learn about all of these when they come to new student orientation. Counseling center. The college offers free quality counseling. It's the same level that you would get at private practice. The same on the outside that would cost a lot of money. That's very often not even covered by health insurance. We have here that students have access to that. They have access to a health and wellness center, right, where we have a nurse practitioner. Academic support, we have a place where students can get tutoring, free tutoring, whether it's in person or even online. They offer, and that's offered in the library building. It's through the Office of Academic Support. Public safety, we have a very safe campus. They're here to help students make sure they feel safe while they're being educated. We have an Office of Accessibility Services. So anyone who had an IEP or 504 while they were in high school, some of those services will follow the students here, and they'll have access to accommodations. But again, remember, the student has to self-identify. They have to go to the Office of Accessibility Services. They need to have conversations with their faculty members. It is illegal for the DOE, right, or wherever school your student is attending, to send us any kind of IEP. The student will have to bring that to the Office of Accessibility Services themselves and self-identify. So that's again about that self-identifying and self-advocacy. The students are now in charge of their own. You could maybe accompany them to their meeting in the Office of Accessibility Services, but they have to be the person to reach out and to attend that meeting. We have a career Center for Career and Professional Development, which helps students with writing resumes, with getting internships, with job preparation. They host professional imaging events, such as like business etiquette lunches, dressing for career success, job interview strategies, how to use social networking. So they're a great office to help students help succeed and find a job and help in that job search and career search. We have an Office of Student Life, which has so many things that the students can get involved in. Clubs, there's over 50 clubs, activities. In fact, if we don't have a club, find 9 other people that want to be in that club, and you could start your own club. We have a radio station. We have multiple publications, student government, so many different things that the students can get involved in. so many things for the students to get involved. And, you know, someone like Emily, who's working in my office, who's now working on campus, working with me as a new student mentor, getting real world experience. You know, students are graduating today, unlike when I was in school, they're graduating with a full resume. So encourage, as the mentor, encourage these students to get involved on campus, to get involved in student government, to get involved in the radio station. You know, we're Division II athletics, go Dolphins. Some of these students might be student athletes, but even if they're not a student athlete, make sure they're going to games to get involved. Students who are involved in their campus, in their college life, perform better. They're better students. So make sure you're encouraging them to get involved on campus, to get involved, because it's great. They're gonna have a great time, and they're gonna, you know, remember this experience for the rest of their lives. So while support services are changing, things are only getting better here at the College of Staten Island, and we need all of you to help encourage them to take advantage of all of the resources that exist here at the College of Staten Island for them. So that's my rant about the transition that all of us are going through, right? Not only the students, but the parents. And now I'm going to go over sort of these steps to enrollment. Most of you have already accepted your offer. If you're here, if you were invited to this event, you probably accepted your offer. I also want to preface, I know I have at least one parent of a Macaulay, an incoming Macaulay student here. Keep in mind that if you're in the Macaulay Honors College or Verrazano Honors College, both of those programs have their own onboarding. So as far as registering for classes and orientations, they do their own. So definitely reach out to those offices, right? I know we have Anita in Macaulay and Cheryl in Verrazano who are there to assist your students. So make sure you're reaching out to them, because these steps are a little bit different. These steps really apply to everyone else that are not in those two honor programs. So just keep that in mind. I always want to preface that. But these are the steps to enrollment. I will go over all of them, but what I'd like to do first is show you a little video.
Welcome to the College of Staten Island. My name is John Kim. I'm the new student program coordinator here. I'm also a proud graduate of the College of Staten Island. Now that you're admitted to CSI, there are a few steps you need to follow to secure your enrollment for the fall semester. Before we proceed to those enrollment steps, we do have to review CUNY's proficiency requirements. As part of the admissions review process, we look at various academic factors from your high school transcript, such as your high school GPA, region exam scores, SAT and ACT scores. College students who do not meet the proficiency benchmarks in one or more areas will have several remediation options. You can visit the testing information section of our new student guide online for more information. Students with deep developmental needs will be strongly encouraged to participate in an intervention program prior to starting regular courses. Now, let's get started with those enrollment steps.
Make sure to accept CSI's offer of admission and pay the $100 commitment fee.
You can do this by logging into your CUNY First account. If you haven't claimed your account yet, visit cuny.edu/CUNYFirst.
You may be waived from the commitment deposit if you applied for financial aid using the FAFSA, and your student aid index is $2,950 or less.
All students must submit the immunization form to the CSI Health Center prior to registering for classes. This form can be found on our website. If you are an NYC public high school student, we should receive your health records automatically. If not, we will let you know. CSI's Advisement and Registration Training, or CART for short, is where you register for classes and claim accounts like your email. Once you've completed the first two steps, you'll receive an email inviting you to register for a CART session where an advisor will help you register for classes.
New Student Orientation, or NSO for short, is a pre-semester mandatory one-day program for new incoming students. It's meant to help students understand all the resources here on campus.
After you register for classes, you will receive an email from Sean Walsh to schedule your NSO session. We usually have a few dates available all throughout the summer to choose from.
And that's where you'll meet this guy. Doesn't make sense now? It will later.
Pay your bill at the Office of the Bursar in Building 2A, or you can talk to them about other information for ways to pay your tuition like a payment plan. If you need assistance with financing your education, please visit our Enrollment Services office in Building 2A. Proof of graduation must be on file before the first day of class. You could drop off your transcript and diploma in the Department of Recruitment and Admissions in Building 2A. If you haven't dropped it off, we'll reach out to you to remind you.
We just started a College of Staten Island class Facebook group, and we would love to have you as a member. The CSI Class of 2029 is a group dedicated to supporting students who are starting CSI in the fall. It is a place to gain helpful enrollment information, learn of upcoming events, and making new friends. This is the community of new Dolphins about to take the plunge into college life, so be sure to join. If you have any questions or concerns, you're always welcome to visit us here in the admissions office in Building 2A, room 103.
All right. John and everyone did a great job on that video. So that definitely outlines all the steps to enrollment. So now we're going to sort of do a little deeper dive into that, and we're going to turn it over to Janice, who's going to take us through, again, the steps to enrollment piece of how to enroll in classes. So Janice, take it away.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Janice Sankar. I'm one of the academic advisors for the Center Advising Academic Success. So the first thing first, what I want to go over is before we go over CART, I want to touch base on what us CAS advisors do. So essentially, we advise students who are undeclared, or if they're planning on just going for their associate's degree, or they do have a declared major. Usually we advise students who are declared until they complete 45 college credits. Now, there are some majors like biology, psychology, engineering that have department advisors. Students who are officially declared under those particular majors will get advised through those advisors, and they will meet with advisement with that when it comes to that info. Advisement happens twice per year. It happens in October, and it starts also in March, and it's really based on the advisement season. So we have fall semester and we have the spring semester. Now, when you meet with your advisor in October, ideally registration will start in November for that student. And if you go for advisement in March, registration will start in April. So it's kind of like a cycle. So you want to keep in mind that it's always best to come early for advisement. That's when it officially starts. But the sooner you get to get advised, the quicker you'll be able to register in November. For the CAS office, we're located in Building 1A in room 101. And then when it comes to advisement season, students can schedule an appointment, or if you need help with scheduling an appointment, you could visit us for assistance. So again, Building 1A, room 101. As the video you just saw mentioned, that you need to be committed in order to get the invitation for the CART session. At the CART session, you will have different offices available. So we have financial aid, we have academic support, we have special office programs like ASAP and SEEK, and ourselves, the CAS, will be there present. On the day of CART, what's going to happen is you're going to be a check-in process. Oh, to the next slide, please. Okay, hi, thanks. Okay, now on the day of the CART session, students will get a check-in process. When they check in, I also want to just do a brief interim a little bit. Tomorrow we have a CART session. Tomorrow CART session will start at 1:30. That's the starting point. It is at 1:30. I know when you sign up, usually depending on if you sign up for the afternoon sessions, the morning sessions will start until July, but the afternoon sessions, they start at 1:30 and it ends at 4:30. So just don't come in like between 1:30 to 4 and expect what happens. A lot of parents and students did that in the past, and they had to sadly be turned away because the session actually started at 1:30. We want you guys to make sure we have the full aspect of everything from the beginning to the end. So tomorrow, if you are attending CART, it starts at 1:30. If possible, come in at least 10 minutes early so you could start doing the whole process. Now, the whole entire process is you come in tomorrow, or whenever you do start the CART session, you check in. When you do decide to check in, what's going to happen, you're going to get provided by an advisement worksheet, and you're also going to get a block schedule of classes that you have to pick from. And you also will be assigned to a group number. With the group number, what's going to happen is going to be a little break off a little bit, but what's going to happen is you're going to have to rank your blocks. Now, I'm going to go in depth with what the blocks are, but what happens is when you review your process of your blocks, you'll be able to pick and choose and see what works best for you. What happens, and again, I'm going to go over that in a bit in the next slide, but what happens is you rank your blocks, and what's going to happen is we're going to collect that sheet of that advisement worksheet with the ranking of what you have chose based on the time schedule and everything. And what's going to happen at that point is students will be placed into assigned groups, and then within those assigned groups, you're going to be escorted to a computer lab. During that computer lab, you'll be able to obtain, IT will run a session where you'll be able to obtain your campus email and all the necessary tools that's needed while you're at campus. You'll be able to access your CUNY First account and all that information. IT session usually lasts about 30 minutes. Once, what happens is when IT's run that session with the advisement worksheet that you guys have given us back, advisors will be enrolling the students based on the block section you have ranked. So like, for example, depending on the time frames, if you rank a certain block at a certain time, you'll be able to select that. When the IT session is over, we're going to be coming over and there's going to be an advisement presentation, pretty much going an overview of requirements that's needed for your general education requirements and what you need for your overall degree. What happens, again, that presentation is over, we're going to review your schedule. And once that's done, you approve your schedule and there's a post-check form that you would fill out. And then that would be pretty much it. Now, the next slide, please. Okay, so now going back into the block sections, what is considered block? Now, with the block sessions, it's fairly new, about 5 years, a little bit new. What happens is there's blocks based on your meta major. So I'm just going to use nursing as an example. Let's just say if you are going for a nursing, there are going to be certain blocks that are certain requirements that nursing students need to take as soon as possible so they'll be able to apply to a nursing program. So you want to, based on your intended major, based on whether you're proficient reading, writing, mathematics, you'll be able to select which blocks that will work best for you. On the advisement worksheet at the very bottom, I believe it's bottom left, you'll be able to see at least three different options. With the booklet, you'll be able to see the time frames. There are going to be time frames in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings. You're going to choose to see which one works best for you. Every student is a little bit different. Sometimes you might only be able to do evening classes, or you may be able to do only morning classes or afternoon classes. You have to check to see what works best for you. So that's why it's very crucial to check all of the rankings that you're seeing. Now, what's going to happen is usually within the blocks, it's between 12 to 15 credits. Now, if you want to graduate on time, it's usually about 15 credits per semester. Some majors require more credits, but that's really dependent on your intended major. So you want to keep that in mind. And also with these blocks, you'll be able to create a learning environment. So you'll be able to see like, oh, I saw this student in my English class, or I saw this person in my psychology class. So you build a little bit of a friendship and come like a familiarity of seeing like, hey, this student, I noticed you could even create like study groups and all that type of stuff, which is very fundamental because once finals, the midterms come around, it tends to come a little bit intense. So you want to, as much help as you could, you'd be able to do that. And then as you're progressing, doing study shows that if you put yourself in a block schedule, you'll be able to continue and then be able to graduate on time and also be able to continue the following semester. So there's a lot of retention after the first semester. But essentially, that's pretty much it on our end. And then if you have any questions at the end, you could put in the chat or I'll be able to answer at the end.
I guess I'm back. It's my turn. New student orientation is your next step after really completing CART. Again, students who are in the Verrazano Honors Program or Macaulay Honors Program will have a separate orientation. They run their own orientations throughout the summer. Also goes for ASAP and SEEK. They have their own orientation. So everyone else who's not in one of those 4 programs will attend my orientation. It is a 1-day. It's mandatory. We try to have a little bit of fun. I will start So we've already have students have already started signing up for orientation. The dates are listed on the website. I'm sure we could put that link in. If not, we don't have that link, I'll find it. But I will send email invites. We'll start sending email invites, I think, next week to students who have gone through CART, and then we'll send them an invite to register for orientation. But we're also sending our new student mentors are also attending CART sessions, and they're helping students register for orientation there. So some of you may have even registered for, if you went to CART, you may have even already registered for orientation. But we're hosting 4 sessions over the summer. You get to choose just one. You only have to come to one. We're doing 2 in July and then 2 in August. I'm also doing a 5th one for students who are going to live on campus. Again, it's nothing extra. They're getting the same orientation as everyone else, but we're going to have one extra day right before classes start for students who are living on campus. So if you're planning on living on campus, make sure you consult with Dana and Sposmy, right? And we're going to work on that soon. But that date is not listed. That date is August 25th. So that'll be for students who are just living on campus. But again, orientation is 1 day mandatory event. It's where we're going to go over everything that the college offers to help your students succeed and to really orientate them to the college. So make sure that you're telling them they have to attend. Make sure you're encouraging them. It's a lot of people don't want to go to orientation. They think, oh, it's a drag. They think it's a drag, but it's a fun day. They're going to meet students. They're going to meet students who are similar majors to them. They're going to meet new student mentors. It really is a day to help them get ready to start classes at the end of August. So make sure you're encouraging them. They do have to attend. It's mandatory, but also encourage them that it's a great thing to attend. As far as the steps to enrollment go, now we're going to get over to really paying your bill. And with that, we're going to turn it over to our friends in financial aid. So we have Amy Friedman, financial aid administrator in the Office of Financial Aid. You there, Amy?
Hi, everybody. I'm here. So my name is Amy. Like Sean said, I do work in the financial aid office and enrollment services, and I am a financial aid advisor. Okay, so once you make your schedule, you will be prompted to pay your bill. As a New York State resident, if you're attending full-time, you can expect your bill to be about $3,800 per semester before any aid. Now, if you want to just pay this out of pocket, you could do so at the bursar's office with cash, check, or money order. And if you want to pay it with a card, you can pay it online through CUNY First. We do also have the option to set up a payment plan. That can also be done through CUNY First, where you would be paying incrementally via like direct deposit at the 5th of every month. Okay, so the big question is, how are we going to pay this bill? And that is where financial aid comes into play. So financial aid is really funding that's used to help students and family pay for college expenses. This can be either need-based or non-need-based. We'll go over that later. And there's 3 main sources that you're going to get your financial aid from. So that's going to be state, federal, and private. So in terms of the types of aid, we have grants. This is like your Pell Grant, which I'm sure most of you have heard of before. Grants do not need to be repaid. Similarly, in the not being repaid is going to be your scholarships. However, scholarships are usually merit-based and you would have to apply for them as well. Now, for things that do need to be repaid is loans. This is money that you borrow. Most of you are familiar with a federal loan. That's going to be money that you borrow from the feds, but you can also do private loans as well. And the last type of aid is going to be employment, which is really your federal work study. Federal work study is going to be paid out just like a regular job in biweekly checks. It won't come automatically towards the tuition. It will be paid out as the student works. Okay, so now applying for financial aid. There are 2 big applications that you have to get in. That's going to be your FAFSA and your TAP. FAFSA can be done on studentaid.gov and TAP can be done on hes.ny.gov. I'm going to go over TAP later, so first we'll tackle the FAFSA. On the FAFSA, it's going to be the 25-26 application, and it's going to consult your 2023 tax year. In terms of the school code, our school code is down there with 002698, but you can also look it up. Just if you type in CUNY, will pop up right there. Okay, so when you do your FAFSA, there's the student portion and the parent portion. And once it's complete, what's going to happen is you're going to be assigned a student aid index or an SAI. This number is calculated by the Department of Education and determined by whatever we get from your FAFSA. The SAI is going to be subtracted from the cost of attendance, which I'll go over next, and that's going to determine how much need you have. Your SAI isn't going to change from school to school, but the cost of attendance can change. Okay, so what is cost of attendance? The cost of attendance is two main things put together, direct costs and indirect costs. Your direct costs are tuition, for example, and then an indirect cost could be like transportation or housing. Together, they form the cost of attendance. The cost of attendance is usually a big number, so you don't need to be scared about it. It's not an actual balance you're paying. It's just the figure that we use to determine how much aid you are eligible for. Okay, so like I said, the FAFSA is going to determine your eligibility for aid. On the FAFSA, you can put up to 20 schools. Each school that you put on the FAFSA will have access to your financial aid eligibility. This is a new big thing. It's not just the student application, it's the student and the parent. So both student and parent are going to need their own FSA IDs, which are their own FAFSA accounts. And not like previous years. I don't know if any of you guys did your FAFSA for college where everything had to be manual. Now everything's automatically pulled from the IRS. That being said, you do have to consent. Both parties, the student and the parent, have to consent to have their information pulled from the IRS. If you deny consent, the FAFSA will automatically be rejected. So make sure you read it really carefully. Similarly, you do have to fill out the FAFSA. Even if like you don't have a social security number, you still do the FAFSA and you still consent. If you didn't file taxes, we'll just get a non-filer, but you do have to consent. Okay, so your FAFSA is going to determine your eligibility for federal grants specifically, otherwise known as Title IV grants. For the Pell Grant, you're eligible for the maximum for the year is $7,395. This is going to be split between the fall and the spring semester. It's going to be based upon the SAI, the Student Aid Index, and how many credits the student is enrolled in. The next form of federal funding is going to be SCOG awards. These are given basically if we have extra funding, they're miscellaneous funding that we can issue to students. In order to be eligible for this, you have to be enrolled in at least 6 credits. And then lastly, we have federal work study, which also you need to be in at least 6 credits, and is also determined by how much funding we have to support that. Okay, so say you do your FAFSA and it turns out you're not eligible for any grants. The next option is going to be federal loans. So we have 3 kinds of loans. There's the subsidized loan, which is need-based, the unsubsidized, which is not need-based, and the plus loan, which is for parents or graduates. We always recommend that you apply for a federal loan before you go into private loans. The subsidized loans aren't accruing interest while you're in school and at least 6 credits, but they are need-based. So whatever you're eligible for in the subsidized loan, we will give you first before we tap into the unsubsidized loans. In order to receive a loan, you need to not only apply for the loan, but you will need to complete entrance counseling, which will explain the terms of the loan and discuss repayment plans, and sign the master promissory note, which is just another affirmation that you understand you do need to repay the loan. Okay, so now this is a new program that Central has launched. Students who complete the FAFSA and still have a remaining balance of 500 or more are going to be pre-populated with a loan. When they receive that offer through CUNY First, they can either accept it, reduce it, or decline it. They'll automatically be populated with the max loan, so if they don't want that, they can reduce the amount, and if they don't want it at all, they can just decline it. The steps below, they're pretty straightforward. You log into CUNY First, financial aid, look at the, it'll say awards at the top, and you can either accept, reduce, or decline right there. For those students who aren't pre-populated with the loan, or say they are pre-populated and they decline and later decide they do want the loan, that's fine. There are other ways to still request the federal loan. You can either do it through the CSI website, which you can't do until you have this last, or right through CUNY First again. So instead of it being in the offers section, you would go to CUNY First, financial aid, and then right in the sidebar, you would click the appropriate year and then direct loan processing form. In terms of loans for freshmen, as you accrue more credits, your eligibility does increase. But for our incoming students, the maximum eligibility for a dependent student is 5,500 for the whole year. For independent students, it's 9,500 for the whole year. I stress the whole year because it will be split in half. So you can get 3,500 of that subsidized, and that will be issued based upon your need. The interest rate right now is about 6.5. That is open to change, and you can look up the most recent interest rates on studentaid.gov. Okay, so the secondary application, we went over the FAFSA. The next one is going to be TAP. TAP is a tuition assistance program offered by the state. In order to qualify for TAP, you need to be a New York resident, you need to be full-time, and the maximum award from TAP is going to be $5,665 with the additional CUNY TAP waiver. Okay, there are other programs that the state supplies. You can look them all up through HESC.my.gov. Some that you might be familiar with are going to be the Excelsior program or the Jose Peralta Dream Act. If you have any further questions about this, definitely look it up on Student Aid, or you can reach out to us after and we can walk you through the other applications. Okay, so financial aid comes in two forms. You have to be financially eligible and academically eligible. So in order to maintain your academic eligibility, you must be regularly attending your courses. Failure to attend can result in your enrollment status being changed, and therefore your aid will be recalculated. Anytime a student is thinking about withdrawing from a class, please, please, please come visit us. We will go over it and see if it's going to affect your eligibility. It could affect you currently, or it could affect you the next semester. So it's always important to come and consult with us before you make the decision. Your academic eligibility will be calculated at the end of every spring semester, so the end of every aid year, and it's called SAP. SAP generally means that you're attending the courses that you're registering for and you're maintaining at least a 2.0 GPA. Students who are not maintaining SAP will no longer be eligible for federal aid. And we always make sure to notify students via email, and we put tasks on their to-do list if there's any issues here. Okay, speaking of emails, it is super, super important that your students are up to date on their emails. I know that there's a lot of emails that go out there, but we always communicate with them via email. Many of you have already received financial aid award letters. These are estimates, but we're open to discuss them with anyone. Similarly, when you do your FAFSA and your TAP application, sometimes we need further documentation. We will put up tasks and email the students letting them know this. If a FAFSA or a TAP has any errors or is missing anything, no aid can be dispersed. So it's really important that we stay on top of that. It can take sometimes 4 to 6 weeks for this to be resolved. So as long as they're keeping up to date with their emails and submitting documents, it should go by pretty smoothly. Speaking of your award letters, now this is a sample award letter. I'm sure many of your students have already received this. That top box has your cost of attendance. It's going to go over your tuition, so your direct costs and your indirect costs to come up with your cost of attendance. Beneath that is going to have the subsection for your financial aid package. This is going to have, your Pell Grants, your TAP awards here. When you see estimated TAP in that middle box, that is not an official award. When TAP is finalized, it will say initial TAP. Again, feel free to discuss with us and we will go over to let you know if there's anything missing there. And your final box is going to have any kind of additional financial aid, including loans and work study. Okay, and just an overview for navigating CUNY First. When you log into the student section on CUNY First, this is going to be the first page you see once you click Student Center. The box on the top right that says tasks and holds, this is where the alerts are going to be to verify your FAFSA, submit documentation. If any errors with your SAP status is all going to be found in that box. So when you click that box, you're going to be taken to this screen. And these are some sample to-do list tasks that students are going to have here. It's important that you look at the institution too, because you see where it says College of Staten Island. If your student has applied for FAFSA and say they put Hunter Brook and CSI on there, they're going to have multiple schools. They only really need to complete the test for the school that they're going to be in attendance with. So this student has a Verify My FAFSA. It's crucial that they do this as soon as possible. So when you click this task, it's going to bring you to a pop-up. And the pop-up's going to look like this. I recommend that you guys use Google Chrome usually because pop-ups are not very friendly to Apple or Safari. But when you get the pop-up, it looks like this. And right under our email is going to be a link that says Verify My FAFSA. And you're going to click there to be redirected to student forms. When you open up student forms, it's going to have you set up your authentication process. You're either going to do email or text message here. And then most people do text. It's easy. If you want to do email, that's fine. You're going to enter that in. And then you're going to set up your account. Your account's going to be the same exact thing. That's your CUNY first. So make sure it's all the same: first name, last name, date of birth, etc. And then you'll be directed to the final student forms page. If a student has outstanding tests, they're going to be shown here. You would click the appropriate year and it will say 1 task remaining, and it'll show you a little bubble that turns green once everything's complete with a nice check. When they click on this task, it will have exactly what they need, and that's where they're going to upload it. If they're having any issues uploading, definitely you can contact us and we'll walk you through the process. Okay, so like I said, missing documentation can be submitted through Campus Logic or student forms, however you want to call it. The information that we receive most of the time is sent out to either the DOE or Homeland Security for additional processing. Once that is complete, your financial aid offer may be revised. That's why it's really important to do it ahead of time. Sometimes it can be increased and sometimes it can be decreased. So it's really important that we get it all covered before the semester starts, so you know exactly how much financial aid that you're eligible for before you really incur a charge. Okay, and finally, if you are so overwhelmed and totally stressed out, you can come and do these applications with us. We do have a filing lab that's open. It's in our main building, 2A. So our counselors are there, I'm there, and the lab is up there. We have a representative in there that will help you complete the applications. I just ask that you please set up your FSA IDs and your accounts beforehand to make the process go a lot smoother. Okay, and if you guys have any following questions, I'm going to stick around after. You can ask me. You can always give us a call at 718-982-2030 or shoot us an email at financialaid@csi.cuny.edu. We're also in person in 2A.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. So that brings us, if you're paying attention, you've gotten us through about step 5 of the steps to enrollment. Last but certainly not least, update your academic record. If the student is a New York City DOE, I guess we're not calling it New York City DOE anymore, right? Someone help me. I think it's New York City Schools or New York Schools, New York Public Schools, I think is what I'm told is the new term. I apologize. But if you are a DOE student, make sure we're getting your final transcript. We're getting the student's final transcript automatically. That's sent to us directly, so you don't need to send us any final transcript. If you're not a New York City public schools student, make sure that we're getting your final transcript. Also, if you took any college courses while you're in high school, if it's college now is CUNY, so we have those automatically. Nothing that they need to do. But if you took a college course outside of CUNY, AP or any of the colleges that offer, like St. John's offers them, make sure that you're requesting a final transcript be sent to the Office of Recruitment and admissions.cuny.edu. Make sure you're getting that sent to us so that Janice and company will have that stuff on file when they're advising you during CART sessions, and they'll be able to advise you appropriately. So those are our steps to enrollment. Let us know if you have any questions. I'm cognizant not to keep everybody here all day because Zooms could be a little challenging to sit on all day, but we'll open some questions. I have a couple of things I want to review. This is the academic calendar. This is the link to the academic calendar. So you either scan that QR code. I'm sure we'll put the code, or they probably put the website already in the chat box. But make sure you're bookmarking this, because it's where the academic calendars will always be. They'll always be there. They'll be constantly updated. So right now, I think spring, the one we're in currently now, the fall 25 is up, but sometime in the fall they'll post the spring 26. So make sure you keep this website bookmarked. You'll be able to know. Keep in mind, it has when the college is open, when the college is closed, when classes are in session. There's also something called conversion days. What's a conversion day? Well, if during a semester there are too many days off on, let's say, a Monday, they will turn a Tuesday into a Monday schedule. That's an example. So that's listed on the academic calendar to look for those conversion days. Make sure you're bookmarking that. What else? What else do I want to mention? Oh, I passed that. We offer campus tours most Wednesdays and Thursdays. I say most, not all, but most, and select weekends at 10 a.m. So we, if you're looking to take a campus tour, we'll also offer optional campus tours during new student orientation. But if you want to take one before, join us. That's the link to the form. Is also a form. Oh, Mr. Esperance, thank you. I also forgot to mention that we do have Nicole Ortiz from CAS and the wonderfully talented Mr. Emmanuel Esperance Jr. here from the Office of Recruitment and Admission answering questions in the chat box. I forgot to shout them out before. But we do have those campus tours, so take a campus tour if you'd like. We're also offering a mini open house on June 7th. Anybody was interested in attending that? That's also on the tour form. You could register for that on that tour form. So some upcoming events that we have coming up. We're also still, SEEK and ASAP are still actively recruiting students to join their programs. So you'll learn more about those programs and students when they attend CART. Oh, and I saw this question before, and it sort of goes back to my transition piece before. Only students are welcome, are permitted to attend CART and new student orientations for students only. They can give you a full report when they return home, but it is for students only. So there will be representatives from SEEK and ASAP at CART sessions. So they'll be able to give more information to the students if they're interested in joining one of those programs. Just real quick, if you have more questions about it, let us know. But real quick, they're opportunity programs. They exist for students who have tons of potential and perhaps didn't live up to their potential while they were in high school. So these programs, SEEK and ASAP, will support students through their time at the College of Staten Island and help them stay on track to graduate within, 4 to 5 years, earn their bachelor's degree. What makes them a little bit different? Well, SEEK has a strict financial component to it, so that the family cannot earn over a certain amount of money to qualify for that program. It's based on family income and family size. However, it supports all majors, and they'll give additional support and additional financial aid to students who are in that program. ASAP, on the other hand, has no strict financial component. Anyone could join, regardless of family income, but it does not support nursing students. They don't support all majors. So that's the sort of little differences of those two programs, but students will learn more about those programs when they attend CART. And as parents, you definitely could reach out to those programs if you wanted more information from some of their representatives. But they're great programs, and I would encourage your students to really listen when they go to CART, and maybe, obviously contact them yourselves if you really wanted more information. But they're two great programs to help students really stay on track. This is the one slide where I'm begging you for your help. We like to make these sessions as wonderful and as clear and as concise and as everything informative, as fun, as enjoyable as possible. So please survey me, rate me, go to the survey link, do my parent orientation survey. Tell us what you loved, tell us what you didn't love so much, and help us make next year's parent orientations even better. Thank you. So if you could do that, we'll put that link in the chat too. Please do our survey. Follow us, like us, add us, join us on all of our social media pages. We have tons. The college has a few, some of the offices. I have my own Instagram. You'll see a lot of the mentors doing great, TikToks, and we're all over the place. So join us. That's a link tree to find all of our social media pages. So definitely join us on social media and check out what we're doing. We're doing a lot of fun stuff with social media. That is me. Officially Assistant Director for Orientation here at the College of Staten Island. But I'm also an admissions counselor. I'm here to help